Hello everyone, welcome to this second video. In this video we are going to start discussing the topics which we have read in the first video. So today we are going to, as I said in the previous video, that in today's video we are going to study about the introduction of concrete technology, then properties of concrete in plastic state, and then hardness state, and then advantages and disadvantages of concrete. So let's start with the introduction. Actually, we know that there are natural stones, so to replace them we have made the concrete, which is also known as artificial stone, because the natural stone and the concrete has almost the same function. So we have made this concrete for the replacement of stones. For the There are various reasons, like economical purposes, to make it more economical. There are a lot of advantages of concrete over stones. So the basic point is that we also call the concrete as artificial stone, right? And then concrete is actually a mixture of different ingredients like cement, aggregates, and water. And then sometimes we use to mix admixtures with these ingredients, right? So basically the main definition is that the branch of civil engineering which deals with the fundamental principles of concrete is called concrete technology. So let's see what actually is plastic state, and then what are the properties of concrete when it is in plastic state. So which kind of concrete we call plastic state concrete? The concrete which is freshly mixed. The freshly mixed concrete is called uh, plastic state concrete, right? And the concrete which is in plastic state, it possesses various properties, like it should have good workability, it should have no segregation, it should have no bleeding, right? So what is workability? Workability, we will discuss these three in detail in the coming videos, but let me tell you the basic definition of workability, segregation, and bleeding. Workability of concrete may be defined as the ease with which it can be mixed, transported, and placed in position in a homogeneous state, right? It is actually some sort of property, and with the ease of which we can mix, transport, and then place that concrete in the position where it is required, and it should be in homogeneous state. That is called workability of concrete. And then segregation. Second is segregation. Segregation means is actually the breaking of cohesion in a mass of concrete during transportation, like separation of aggregates, coarse and fine aggregate. If this gets separate from each other, then we call it segregation. If from the concrete, if water separates, then it is called bleeding, right? Bleeding may be defined as the separation of water or water sand cement from freshly mixed concrete, and this bleeding actually causes due to the excess of water content. If we use a lot of water in the concrete, then we can expect bleeding in the concrete. So these were some properties of the concrete when it is in plastic state. After that, concrete used to get hardened, and then that state is called hardened state of concrete, and it should also, this state also should have a few properties which are important, like strength, durability of concrete, impermeability, elasticity, shrinkage, and then thermal expansion. These are some properties which the concrete should possess in its hardness state. So what actually is strength? Strength of concrete. Strength of concrete is defined as the resistance of hardened concrete to rupture under different loading and is accordingly designated in different ways, like tensile strength, compressive strength, flexural strength. So a good quality concrete in hardened state must possess the desired crushing strength. So this is the first property. The second property is durability. As its name shows that it should be durable. So what kind of concrete we call durable concrete? Durability is defined as the period of time up to which concrete in hardened state withstands the weathering effects satisfactorily. This property is mainly affected by water-cement ratio. Durability is most of the time the durability of concrete is affected by the ratio of water and cement. A good quality concrete in its hardened state must be durable. Next is impermeability of concrete. This is the next property. So the impermeability of hardened concrete may be defined as the property to resist entry of water. It is the property of the concrete with which it resists the entry of water into the concrete. This property is achieved by using extra quantity of cement in concrete mix. So if we want to improve the impermeability of concrete, we will obviously add extra quantity of cement into the concrete mix. A concrete in hardened state must be impermeable. Next property is elasticity of a concrete in its hardened state. So all these properties are the properties of concrete when it is in its hardness state, right? So next property is elasticity. Elasticity is defined as the actually hardness concrete is a brittle material, right? So it is desired that it should possess adequate elasticity. It should have adequate elasticity because we know that concrete is a brittle material, right? This is very important. We should know that the concrete is a brittle material. The next property of the concrete when it is in its hardness state is shrinkage. A hardened concrete should experience least shrinkage. So to get a good property concrete, good quality concrete, the concrete after getting hardened, it should have least shrinkage. This property is guided by water cement ratio like impermeability. Shrinkage is also guided by the water cement ratio. Shrinkage is less if water ratio is less. So it's directly proportional. Actually, if the water cement ratio is less, then shrinkage will be less. If water cement ratio increases, then shrinkage will also increase. So the next and last property of concrete in its hardness state is thermal expansion. So a hardened concrete should possess least coefficient of expansion. The thermal expansion value should be least for a concrete when it is in its hardened state. So these were some properties of concrete in its hardness state. Next thing we are going to discuss are the advantages and disadvantages of concrete. What are the advantages of concrete? The first thing is that the ingredients of concrete like cement, water, coarse and fine aggregate, and then admixtures, these all are available very easily. So this is the basic advantage of concrete. The second important advantage of concrete is that it can be handled very easily and we can mold the concrete into any sort of shape we want. The third is that it can be easily transported. Easy transportation from the place of mixing to the place of casting before initial set takes place. So it is easy to transport. The next is that the ability to pump or spray to fill into the cracks and lining of tunnels. The next advantage is that when we use this concrete with reinforcement or steel, there are various possibilities. We can make various structures, high-rise buildings, flyovers, and there are tons of structures which we can make by using reinforcement with the concrete. And it has monolithic character, which means that it gives a better and appealing appearance and much rigidity to the structure. The next advantage of concrete is that it possesses high compressive strength. Right? This property of concrete to possess high compressive strength makes a concrete structure more economical than that of steel structures. So this is the property which makes concrete structures more economical as compared to the steel structures. So these were some advantages of concrete, and then let's see the disadvantages of concrete. As we discussed in the last point of the advantages, that concrete possesses high compressive strength. So in this regard, the disadvantage of concrete is that as it possesses high compressive strength, it has low tensile stress. It bears low tensile strength. So the first disadvantage is that due to low tensile strength, concrete is required to be reinforced to avoid cracks. Yeah, that's the reason we actually reinforce. We use steel bars in concrete because uh, it has low tensile strength. So to improve its tensile strength, we use reinforcement because reinforcement has actually the property to bear or possess high tensile strength. So the next disadvantage of concrete is that requirement of expansion joints and construction joints. And the next is that like in expansion joints in long structures, expansion joints are required to be provided if there is large temperature variations in the area. So this is one disadvantage of concrete. And then construction joints are also provided to avoid cracks due to drying, shrinkage, and moisture expansion. Next is presence of soluble salts. Like soluble salts in concrete cause efflorescence if moisture reacts with them. The next disadvantage or the negative point of concrete is that concrete made with the OPC or ordinary Portland cement gets integrated in the presence of alkalis and sulfates. The integration of concrete actually, when there is a presence of alkalis and sulfates, the concrete gets integrated. The next thing is that creeping of concrete. Actually, the sustained loads on the concrete can develop or cause creeps in the structures. So these are some disadvantages of concrete. I think that's it for today's video. In the next video, we will discuss the next 4 or 5 topics, which are ingredients of concrete, types of cement, important properties of various types of cements, and then physical tests of cement. These will be the topics for next video. So see you guys in next video.